Grade 9 Pride and Prejudice Amazing Analysis and Essay Plans, Episode 3 Mr. Collins. So, over the last couple of weeks, I've been writing up some unique essay points, so I'd appreciate it if you subscribed if you like this free resource. So, here's the video contents. There are 3 points that I discuss in this essay plan about Mr. Collins, so let's begin with the first one. So the point 1 is that Mr. Collins is a substanceless leech who is obsequious to the status quo. So there's quite a good many useful vocabulary that you can embed in your essay, which will impress the examiner. So obsequious means he worships the status quo and he worships the aristocracy. So Mr. Collins is portrayed as an excessively obsequious character, particularly towards his patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. He flatters and ingratiates himself to gain her favour and constantly seeks her approval. His letters and speeches are filled with flowery language and exaggerated expressions of gratitude. Austen satirises, which just means mocks, the foolish subservience of Mr. Collins towards a socio-economic hierarchy through his exacerbated idiocracy. So through him being really foolish and stumbling about and worshipping this character, Austen mocks those characters and people in real life who are so subservient to money and wealth. Feel free to take any of these really good phrases and embed them in your writing to get that grade 9. Now, firstly, this is portrayed through his laughable impression, through the epistolary technique, the Right Honourable Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Now, he keeps repeating that entire phrase, and it's just absurd, and it provides some comic relief for the reader. He also says, demean myself towards her ladyship. Now, the verb demean, as well as condescension, both highlight the ironic truth that Mr. Collins is a substanceless leech who serves to satirise the sycophantic, absurd social norms and expectations of the time. Now, Mr. Collins travels with his foolish subservience to such an extent that even at the height of supposed romantic desire with his proposal to Elizabeth, he is unable to remove himself from this unhealthy obsession due to the only female referenced being Lady Catherine de Bourgh. So in his whole proposal to Elizabeth, he doesn't even mention anything remotely romantic. He just talks about his patroness. And he says, which perhaps I ought to have mentioned earlier. This again acts as an obsequious reference to her and suggests he is unable to disassociate from status and aristocracy. And also within his proposal to Elizabeth, he uses the conjunctional adjectives firstly, secondly, thirdly. And this is a very argumentative approach to something that would have been, romantic. And even during that time, it would have been deemed unenthusiastic and comical, despite the contemporary audience being well acquainted with the notion of marriage for reasons apart from love. Now, the repetition of the personal pronoun my so blatantly excludes the woman he is marrying and directing this whole proposal to, and correctly implies that this person will not be happy. Now, the second point to this is that Mr. Collins believes himself to be a model of proprietary and social etiquette. So he believes that he's, very charming and follows social rules and cues. However, Austen employs irony to highlight how his actions are more indicative of his materialistic beliefs. Now, there is a lot of situational irony in which Mr. Collins assumes a religious role. However, the only thing he seems to pay religious devotion to is wealth and the upper class, such as the Rosings. Let's move on to point 2, which is his obliviousness of social cues and lack of awareness, and how that injects comedy into the novel. So Mr. Collins lacks basic self-awareness. He often fails to recognise how his behaviour and remarks are perceived by others. He frequently boasts about his connections, his wealth, his accomplishments, and is unaware of how pompous and insincere he appears to those around him. Austen uses Mr. Collins to inject humour into the novel. His pompous and long-winded speeches, combined with his obliviousness to social cues, creates a very comical situation in which the reader can laugh at him. Now, his proposal to Elizabeth is very awkward and self-centered, and it's a prime example of Austen's use of humour through his character. Now, we view Mr. Collins as a fumbling conversationalist through his appalling, unromantic proposal to Elizabeth, which, if you want to know, is found in chapter 19. And finally, point 3. Mr. Collins acts as a foil to contrast other characters. So Mr. Collins serves as a stark contrast to other male characters in the novel, such as Mr. Darcy and Mr. Bingley. So while Darcy and Bingley are portrayed as respectable and genuine individuals, Mr. Collins represents the superficiality and absurdity of social class to which he aspires. Furthermore, the lack of development in Collins, as opposed to other characters, for example, Darcy overcomes pride, Elizabeth overcomes her prejudice, and whereas Mr. Collins, shows that excessive pride is unhealthy and inhumane, and yet he doesn't even change. So characters like Mr. Collins, who remain excessively proud throughout the entire novel, see their influence diminished, whereas those who learn to reduce their pride become happier. And therefore, Collins acts as a foil to enunciate the development of maturity in the protagonist. So he basically, because of his lack of development, he shows even greater and highlights even more Elizabeth and Darcy's maturity growth. He also acts as a social climber, and this is because Mr. Collins is motivated by his desire to advance socially and improve his standing. As a clergyman, he believes in the higher social rank and the Bennet family due to his connection with Lady Catherine. He eagerly seeks a wife and proposes to Elizabeth Bennet, believing that it will enhance his social status and secure his future because Lady Catherine said so. Thank you for watching. If you found this video essay helpful, don't forget to subscribe. I put lots of effort into making these videos, so it would mean a lot if you can like, subscribe, and good luck in your exams. See you soon.